Welcome to the very first episode of our brand new podcast, Campaign D-Scussions. And our very first guest is Seth Mariano. And today we are going to be talking about theater, or the more or less the organization Artists Unlimited. So tell us a little about yourself, Seth.
So I've been performing with the organization Artists Unlimited Incorporated here in Rochester for a few years now. It was designed back in 2002 to sort of give people with special needs like Down syndrome, autism spectrum disorder, and other disabilities a chance to perform in a high quality, full on stage production, unlike they would normally get to. And it's been a nice learning experience, and I've definitely made a good batch of friends along the way. And we are coming up on practices probably late August for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. That's our next production, and looking forward to getting started working on that.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, Artists Unlimited and Campaign D, Campaign D wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Artists Unlimited, because much of the board members in Campaign D met through Artists Unlimited. So, where do you think your drive to perform on stage came from?
Well, I feel like the seed was kind of planted in me from a pretty early age. Like growing up, I could memorize films pretty quickly and pretty much more or less recreate them. I was kind of, maybe reclusive isn't the right word, but I was pretty close anyway. I was, growing up with autism spectrum disorder, I was generally uncomfortable around people for a long time. I would kind of, movies were like, and television, animation were kind of my constant companion.
Same
Aside from maybe my brother or something. And then on occasion anyway, my dad would take me and my brother to see productions of theater shows like Music Man and Oliver, and I feel like my exposure to musical theater was kind of being a planted seed even then. Like I'd see like a lot of Disney films and videos that would kind of utilize a very similar musical style. And but I didn't really think much about like making a career out of it for a while or that kind of thing, I don't think. But and then of course, like I think it was in 2006, High School Musical came out on Disney Channel and like rocked the whole nation. Have you, I don't know how much you caught wind of that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was like 4, I think, when that came out.
Yeah. Yeah, but of course, upon premiere, that was a big deal. It was like a whole sensational film. And then the following year, our artistic director at Artists Unlimited, Carl Wager, put on a middle school stage production of a stage adaptation of that movie. And my brother had a small like ensemble role in it, and so I saw it twice, and I was particularly impressed with like how and I was in middle school myself at the time. I wasn't really involved though, I would just watch, but I was really impressed with how the kids in a lot of the lead roles had such this professional quality and almost classical style sound to their voices. And these kids were only in middle school.
Yeah.
They were like, this was like talent beyond their years. Of course, they probably trained a lot, with choir and everything, but it was quite beyond their age.
Definitely, yeah. What do you think is the biggest misconception about the performing arts?
That success is overnight is probably the biggest misconception. People probably assume, you can just kind of wing it, or you can kind of wish the quality performance into existence, I feel like. But I have I'm still learning even myself as a performer, about things like technique and probably delivery. And I'm working with Casano Studio, which is a voice acting studio down in Webster, and that's teaching me about like intonation, pitch, delivery. So even now, even as a veteran, I feel like I still have maybe some to learn. And these kids, even neurotypical kids at the school theater program, they have gone through a lot of extensive, fancy choral and choir training that is often goes unnoticed. You don't realize how much work they're putting into it. It's really, I mean, there is natural talent, and then there's the fine tuning side that they have to put in some training.
Yeah, definitely. What are some stage shows you've watched that have really impressed you? I know we mentioned Music Man, High School Musical. What are some other ones?
Yeah, well, definitely one I would say that I saw a couple years ago, Little Shop of Horrors. That is a fun plot, and I feel like it really clicked with me partly because the character of Seymour is kind of a hopeless romantic dork, sort of like myself, and so that probably resonated with me. And I particularly liked when Audrey sang "Somewhere That's Green." I pretty much hung on every word, probably partly because her dreams sounded similar to my own, and because it was so well performed and so full of genuine heart. Yeah, and so that song, and then Suddenly Seymour, probably the other big hit ballad there. And so, and then last November, shortly after we did Beauty and the Beast at Artists Unlimited, I attended a college performance of a musical called She Loves Me, which is a more fancy, sort of old-fashioned romantic comedy with some good witty lyrics, and that sort of classical style that I kind of grew up hearing in these school shows and school functions and stuff from the audience. So I would have to say those are my two personal favorites. And then more recently, back a couple months ago, saw a performance of Into the Woods, which is a sort of crossover of different fairy tale plots kind of coming together, and it's sort of a dark cautionary tale, and the kids did such a great job with that, and I got to meet a few of them and kind of connect with them over that common ground of performing background, and several of them are aspiring to go pro, but in my mind they already are, though.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing about performing on stage?
Yeah. Well, it is kind of, I guess, for one thing, it's kind of a good outlet for my energy, my emotional energy, but also I think probably my most favorite thing is the connections that I've made with, whether it's people who weren't involved in a performance and I just watched them in it, like I said before, or even some of the people with Artists Unlimited, even including some of the very talented volunteer performers. A lot of them come from the Greece Athena High Middle School. Well, those were the kind of people I felt like they had a very special talent that I guess I always admired since I observed it, and the friendships that I've made with them, and of course the people at Campaign D, like yourself and Dalton Letta and others, and just being able to, kind of learn to work as a team and put on something special and full of energy and passion and full of fun storytelling and music. It is just the sense of community, I guess, in shorter, I guess, is probably the best thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Performing on stage myself, my favorite part of it is just being someone you're not for an hour. Just hopping into someone else's shoes, and everyone just believing in it. Everyone, playing into the fantasy. That's my favorite part of the performing arts. What are your dreams for your professional future?
Honestly, I feel like I'm kind of like a bee in the sense of, I'm never content to stay in one place for too long. I'm kind of like bouncing around different interests. I know I want to do a lot of stuff like very creative, like maybe a little bit of acting on stage, voice acting, and maybe I know probably one of my biggest dreams is to have like a full. I kind of do a podcast already with our friend Jordan Smith. It's kind of an amateur thing, but I would kind of like to one day maybe do a sort of more full on professionally produced podcast where I can interview some actors maybe I grew up watching and hearing and things, maybe kind of connect with them on that common ground of performing background and kind of get to know them and connect with them personally. Like, it's probably a long shot as it is, but I feel like, if I get enough experience, whatever, under my belt, I could probably do it. Maybe a little bit of that, maybe occasional singing, that'd have to be the music I want to do. And event and game show hosting, or television hosting, I kind of want to do a little bit of that. And just maybe occasional featured article writing or something. Just anything creative with a social aspect to it. I feel like I'm pretty interested, and I'll probably want to do a little bit of just about everything of that.
Yeah, definitely. Anything in the arts. So that is going to wrap up our very first episode of Campaign D-Scussions. I, of course, would want to thank Seth for being our first guest. I look forward to seeing you again in the future on this podcast. But anyways, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe and follow us for more content. Thanks for listening.